So here, this slide here, if you look at the bullet starting with the website design and implementation, that $200,000, all the way down to the Schedule 25 training of $10,000, that totals, just under 1.6 million, and that is all in the services line item. So that is the specific items that we will be spending the funding for that has been allocated. And again, this went through the Budget Advisory Committee as their recommendation to the board of how to spend these one-time funds. So overall on our expenditures, this is kind of the pie chart of showing what the breakdown is and what percentage each of the major categories represents. So of our $130.8 million, that is in the budget, you can see there that 80.4% is being spent on salaries and benefits. Now, this next slide, we felt it was important to back out the one-time mandated cost expenditures that have been allocated, that 11.3 million, to show that really our ongoing expenditures, excluding that one-time fund, is about 119.5 million. And by doing that, it's showing that our salaries and benefits are really about 88% of our total budget.
Wow.
So here,
Vice President Gable,
Yes.
Isn't that kind of the norm? Hasn't it been close to 90% for many, many years?
It's high.
yeah, and we have a slide that shows it, and so that's about the norm for Long Beach City College.
But it's high.
It's high relative to other districts our size, and again, we have to remind ourselves that we operate two campuses and we duplicate services on both campuses, and we do that. It is an additional expense, so we do have a higher ratio, and it is something that this board is going to have to wrestle with over time. Every time we increase salaries, that number will continue to go up.
And where's the management salaries reflected?
Management salaries are reflected both in the academic salaries as well as the classified salaries. You can see the breakdown in the budget book on page 18. There's two separate line items.
And what percentage is that?
I don't have that percentage calculated.
Thank you.
Don't we incorporate the, for example, department chairs, deans, their quote unquote management? Yet the fact is, where are they classified in all this?
No, the department heads, there is a separate line item for the department head. They fall under the academic salaries as well. The majority of the academic salaries are for full-time faculty and part-time faculty. Of the total $50.1 million in academic salaries, 3.7 is related to academic administrators.
Just for historical, that 88% that we have, this is a very generalization of it all, but City College of San Francisco, which is in horrible financial situation right now, they're the one of the districts you can point to that says is over the 90% threshold. I want to believe they're 92%. So that number is some people may not understand what it is, but for us, when I started, I know we were in the mid-80s, 84, 85%. Right. And it has climbed, but there's been reasons for, and so I don't think it sets up anything to be alarmed over, but it's something to be cautiously aware of.
Right, so I'll just go right to this slide since we're talking about the historical trends of the percentage of salary and benefits to our total expenses. This does show the 7-year history. So in 13-14, we were at a low of 85%. Now for 15-16, we're projecting it to be 88% if we take out the one-time funding that has been allowed. This slide also shows the trend of any surplus or deficit. So you can see there that 3 of the last 7 years, we've either incurred or are projecting a deficit. Our ending balance has fluctuated from 12.4%. The adopted budget, it's at 18.3%. So we wanted to provide kind of a 2-year projection. These are very preliminary projections, and So what it's showing there is the adopted budget. So you see the ending fund balance, as I just mentioned, it would be about 23.9 million. And if we started 16-17 with that 23.9 million and assumed that the budget would be exactly the same as it was in 15-16, then we would have a deficit of 1.6 million. So that's what that second line is there on the right-hand column. The next line, apportionment changes. This is what do we think might happen with our apportionment. School Services of California is projecting a 1.6% COLA. So we went ahead and projected a 1.6% COLA onto our revenue, and that's where that 1.7 million comes into play. We know that the one-time mandated cost money, that 11.3 million, is going to go away, so we're backing that out. We also know that we need to hire about 17 full-time faculty for the 16-17 year, so that's the cost of 1.751 million. We have salary rate increases that have already been approved by the board. That's half a COLA for AFT and for CHI. So that's 0.8%. So that's the cost there of about $260,000. And then we're projecting other salary and benefit changes. This would include step increases of about 1.2 million. Health and welfare, I would say that we estimated low using a 5% increase for our health and welfare. That's about 790,000. And then our STRS and PERS rates are going to increase. So that's about 1.4 million that will increase. And then again, other expenditure changes. We have to add back in the 11.3 million for the mandated costs, as well as the election. We budgeted $450,000 for an election, which we won't have in 16-17. So with those changes, known and estimated changes at this time, if nothing else were to change, we would have a deficit of about 4.9 million, which would bring the fund balance down to 19 million. So this kind of leads into what President Oakley was saying earlier, is that we think that 15-16 could be the best budget year that we've seen. We're not so optimistic that it'll be this good in 16-17. So kind of using those assumptions, where would we be if we didn't make any other changes? Some of the future budget challenges, as I mentioned, the sunset of Proposition 30 revenues. If you remember from the pie chart, that's what we had listed as EPA. That's the Education Protection Account funds. That was 15.5% of our revenue, of the apportionment revenue. And so we know that the sales tax is going to terminate at the end of 2016, and that's about 21% of the total EPA funds. And then the income tax increases are going to terminate at the end of 2018. So either the state funding is going to have to improve, or we could potentially see some cuts in the future related to the loss of Proposition 30 revenues. We also know that our state pension obligations are going to increase significantly each year through 2021, and this next slide here shows that. So in 16-17, our STRS rate will increase up to 12.58. We're currently paying 10.73%. With PERS, we're currently paying 11.85. That's going to increase up to 13.05%. And then you can see the increases each year thereafter through 2021. So as it stands right now, assuming that our salaries don't change at all, and using the salaries that we have in the 15-16 budget, the increase to STRS in the next 5 years is about $4.5 million, and the increase to PERS is about $2.8 million. So that's the end of the presentation. I'll open up to any other questions?
I have a question. On page 3 of the budget book, so I noticed that originally we had allocated $560,000 for restoring classified staff position, and now it's $248,000. And the management reorganization was $290,000, and now it's $560,000. So if you can help me understand why that is, I'd appreciate it.
So that's primarily related to a reorganization that we've done with the business systems analysts. There were 3 very low-level business systems analyst positions that were vacant that we decided to eliminate those positions, and we created higher-level business systems analyst positions that happened to fall into the management salary schedule. So we eliminated 3 classified positions. We created 2 higher level management positions with the intent that we will be able to get a broader scope of work and a higher level of work, and hopefully some programming out of those positions that we weren't getting previously.
And which department is that under?
That's IITS, information,
No worries, I got it. Thank you.
Instructional Information Technology Services. There we go.
Okay. Could you repeat that?
No.
So we don't have a motion on 5.2, so I would entertain a motion, but let me tell you the motion that I would entertain. And that is that the Board of Trustees enact the following as submitted. 1, conduct a public hearing and approve the adopted budget of 2015-16. 2, accept the definitions of fund balance as promulgated by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. 3, accept the committed fund balance component that can only be used for specific purposes imposed by formal action of this board and documented in the minutes. The amount will remain binding unless modified or removed in the same manner. 4, designate the Vice President for Administrative Services as a district official to determine and define the amounts of those components of fund balance that are classified as, quote, assigned fund balance, end quote. 5, classify the various components of fund balance reported by the district as defined in Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statement Number 54. And 6, approve the use of the estimated $17,018,831 of the 2015-16 Educational Protection Account proceeds resulting from the passage of Prop 30 to partially fund instructional salaries and benefits.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Zia, seconded by Trustee Baxter. Is there any further discussion?
I believe Trustee Archuleta seconded the motion.
Did you? Okay, I didn't. Okay.
I heard them exactly at the same time. So
I would
I
tie.
think we're going to,
Give it, she's A.
at every meeting, I think what we should do is designate one, either Trustee Archuleta or Trustee Baxter with a deeper voice.
Okay,
So that-
okay.
So that if you're going
Okay.
to second something or make a motion, you have to,
All right.
second. Okay. So, any further questions, statements?
No, I just, very obviously, another outstanding presentation on the budget, and some of the questions as we go through the budgets, and I'm pleased that really at the very beginning of this, that we had that comments, and I applaud what was raised, but also Superintendent President Oakley on the whole issue with the FTES, and the term was called chasing FTES. I'm pleased that this college is never going to take that approach. That seems to be a way, if anyone even remembers that discussion at the very beginning. But our funding, funding for community colleges is somewhat obsolete. It's outdated. It's not going to change in our lifetime. It's going to change a little bit here and there. But the fact is, trying to do what we're going to do, there was mentions about with growth. Our district, Long Beach, we are not going to experience a tremendous amount of growth. I know President Otto mentioned, for example, College of the Desert. They have the benefit, if you will, of the Coachella Valley, which has a growth rate of about 17%, which has an impact on their growth. At the same time, we have to walk that very fine line where we have no growth, because when you get into something called stabilization, that has a negative impact on a district funding-wise. So I just appreciate the way we've been going in the past few years. I like the fact I'm finally dealing with a budget, that I'm not just sitting here wondering what is the next bad issue that's going to be raised. And so I think that this budget presentation is solid, and that what we've been trying to do, and in particular, I just wanted to mention that, especially with the FTES, about how that can sometimes be misleading on how we're going to achieve our growth. And I agree wholeheartedly. And And this motion, I think, reflects that we are not going to become a district that does that just for the sake of doing it, because it does not help the quality of the institution. And in the long run, it doesn't help our funding mechanism as well. So, and those questions that I raised periodically, I just want people to understand, if they don't, the budget procedures process, even for the public. Sometimes people in the public, if they're interested in this, they don't understand where our role is and where it's usually not. And it actually works quite well, all things considered. So anyway, excellent report as always. Thank you, President Otto.
Call for the question. Please take the vote. Read the roll call.
Irma Archuleta,
Aye.
Virginia Baxter,
Aye.
Jeff Kellogg,
Aye.
Doug Otto,
Aye.
Sunny Zia.
Okay. Reports, Academic Senate President. Are you going to go over the budget too?
Thank you for that very thorough report, and I have no report.
Thanks. Superintendent President.
Yes, just two quick things, and then I'm going to scoot out of here. But first of all, I just want to, again, take a moment and recognize the accomplishments of Julian Delgadio. It was a very difficult, it's been a very difficult process to go through for all of us. And it was just wonderful to see all of his friends and family today at the service. And everything that's been said is correct about him, and that he is irreplaceable and will leave a big hole at this college. But nonetheless, I know that he would want us to carry on, and that's what we're going to do. So I also want to take a moment to praise Rose Delgadio for her ability to keep it together through all this and be a very gracious person, and we hope that she takes the time that she needs to get through this, and we will await her return when she is ready. Finally, I just wanted to take a moment to again thank the board for all of its support, and to be conscious of the recognition that that this college continues to receive. Over the last couple of weeks, I've had the privilege of working with the White House Office of Public Engagement to prepare for an announcement tomorrow that the president's going to make at Macomb Community College, just outside of Detroit in Michigan. He is going to launch a new campaign. It's a College Promise campaign. It's a national campaign that really takes what we have been doing for many, many years and tries to capture the essence of what we're doing and spread it throughout the nation. I've been very proud and privileged to be able to support this effort. We're looking forward to his announcement. We're looking forward to sitting down with the president tomorrow and talking about what we do here in Long Beach and helping shape what that initiative looks like. Former Chancellor Foothill De Anza, former Undersecretary of Education Martha Cantor will be leading the College Promise campaign nationally. On September 24th, when we have our College Promise event here, Undersecretary Ted Mitchell has agreed to come to speak about the College Promise campaign. So I just want you to know that your work over the last several years is really impacting the national dialogue. You'll probably notice that there has been a lot of op-ed pieces about College Promise programs. We expect the Lieutenant Governor soon to publish one as well, and hopefully continue to be recognized for the work that we've been doing. So I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who's worked on the Long Beach College Promise over the years. This is one of the moments that we can sit back and know that the work that everybody has done is being recognized nationally. So thank you.
And as a matter of personal privilege, knowing what time that flight leaves to go away, if you want to get out of here, you probably should, because otherwise you're not going to make it.
Well, it's always hard for me to leave these meetings, but in this case, I better get
I experienced that as the first lie of the evening. But Student trustee.
Thank you. So first, I'd like to apologize for my tardiness. I had to take care of some things at home. So I guess quickly, thank you to the board members who were in the attendance for our welcome back day at LAC. That was a lot of fun. I came out of class and I got handed a hot dog by Kellogg's. So that's always a great sight to see.
How often has that happened?
It has not happened, but I hope
I'm
it
just
happens very
saying.
frequently now. I'll be expecting him to be in the cafeteria more often, hopefully. I just can't picture him with a hairnet, but that works too.
Not going to happen.
What about PCC, Alejandro?
Yeah, so unfortunately I wasn't able to make it, so I'm sure some of you were there. Were you there? How was it? Okay, we'll talk about it later. But anyway, the Pacific Coast campus had one the week before. I heard it was a great turnout. Derek's always a great cook. Unfortunately, I couldn't make that one because I have class at that time, but I'm sure it was great. So yeah, thank you for attending that. Also, I'm sure Dal mentioned earlier that there was a tragedy that befell Sacramento City College. It's unfortunate that happened. It's been a very long month full of tragedy and sadness and unfortunate things, but I'm hopeful for the future. I'm sure this is going to bring about questions about public safety on colleges across California and across the state. So hopefully we're ready for that. But yeah, I'm actually heading up to Sacramento this weekend, so hopefully I can stop by and see if I can drop off a car, let them know that they have support from Long Beach City College. And thank you for that. And then my report.
Great, okay. Reports from the Board of Trustees, Trustee Zia.
I thought I'd go last, but thank you, President Otto. First of all, I would like to express my deepest condolences to Vice President Rose Delgadio and her family. I was trying to make it to the earlier memorial today, but I got in an accident trying to get flowers. So I will make it up to her and her family. And it's really, truly a loss for all of us. The loss of our beloved Professor Dr. Julian Delgadio. We have truly lost a man of honor, grace, and compassion. And may God bless his soul and give his family and LBCC family patience during this difficult time. And I'm honored to start contributing what I can to the Long Beach City College Foundation and scholarship in his name and honor, and encourage those who can to do the same. Julian, you will always be in our hearts and minds. On August 28th, I had a chance to stop by at the Associated Student Bodies meeting. It was great to see our ASB in their element, conducting business in such a professional manner. So good job, Dal, ASB, and Alejandro. It made me very proud, so keep up the great work. I also had the opportunity to hear from students areas of enhancements that would support their success. Students shared that the cafeteria vendor can be more cost-conducive. I believe that's SNB for students, especially those who don't have a minimum amount of dispensable cash required for getting food. They also expressed a continuous struggle with obtaining books that are affordable, or general education books such as statistics or math that are available at lower costs elsewhere. But yet they've experienced a restriction placed on buying only LBCC designated books. So I'd like to see that alleviated. There were also shared concerns about financial aid disbursement and timeline to respond to students. So we should focus on addressing these basic issues that are directly affecting our students' educational needs and their ability to efficiently and effectively meet their needs. If we want our students to graduate in a reasonable time frame, we must also understand their situation, and we must also take care of the chronic issues of affordability and the imminent need for allocating staff such as counselors and a financial aid director and other support staff to better support them. Lastly, September 14th is Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and I'd like to wish my Jewish community. Some of you are in the audience tonight. Also, Jewish community members at the district and beyond. A wonderful new year filled with love, prosperity, and peace for Israel, her neighbors, and beyond. Shana Tova Umetoka Ve'am Yisrael Chai. Thank you.
Trustee Archuleta.
Yes. In the interest of time, I just want to once again commend the 12 women that we honored this afternoon. I was very proud that our institution is part of that program, and I hope we continue to support it, and I'd like to see more of that type of programming supported by our institution. I also want to extend my condolences to the Delgado family, in particular to Rose. I know this is a difficult time, but she knows that our hearts are with her and with her family. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Baxter.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I would like at a future board meeting, if we could show the library YouTube that is on their webpage. They sent it to me last week through a Pepsi grant. They have 4 YouTubes. It's very clever. And it's what the library is and trying to make it in a humorous way. And if that were possible sometime, Trustee Otto, I'd appreciate that. I attended the retirement party of Ed Miller, who is in the mailroom and will be greatly missed. I also attended the farewell to Tom Toe. Tom Toe was a student here. He eventually became a counselor here, briefly was dean of counseling, and now he's on his way to Cypress College and our loss, and it was good to say goodbye to him, but I told him, don't forget your roots are here. I also attended the play Love Is, which was directed by Greg Mortensen and Tony Carrero, and what I thought was great about this play is they had a cast of about 25 students. So what they try to do is involve every student possible in their theater arts classes so that they all get the experience of being on the stage and performing, and it was very well done. And I also served hot dogs. Obviously, Alejandro, you got your hot dog from Trustee Kellogg and not me, but I enjoyed wearing the plastic gloves, and it was a lot of fun, so I was glad that I was there during Join a Club Day. Then coming up, tomorrow night we're having a VIP reception for the 4 people being inducted into the Alumni Hall of Fame. And then on Thursday night, we are having a President's Circle reception at a private home. Next week, the Fine Arts Associates is having a pop-up art gallery and musical entertainment downtown Long Beach. We already have about 50 people coming to this event. I want to thank alumna Sherry Ray Vaughn, who has gone out and really tried to get people to promote coming downtown and seeing what the student artwork is like. She's a graduate of our art program and very, very successful. And so things are going well, and thank you very much.
Trustee Kellogg.
No report.
Very briefly, as I said at the beginning, this was a very sad day for Long Beach City College, brought home by the service up in Rose Hills, and I think we're all kind of reeling from that, and we will adjourn this meeting in the honor of our colleague Julia Delgado. But one of the things that I think Julian stood for, and I think that we all need to remember, is that this is a family, that we function best when we function together, when we work together to achieve the same results that we would if you try and do it as an individual, it doesn't work. That the nature of higher education in particular is that people need to work with one another to make things happen. And I think that Julian stood for that, and he remembered that. So that's all I'm going to say tonight. Future committee reports. We have a communications committee that intends to report out in October We're working on that and getting closer and closer. And we have no public comments on non-agenda items, do we?
That's correct.
Okay, and by the way, we had no comments on closed session items either, did we?
That's correct.
I think the correct response is yes, we didn't.
Yes, we, well, it's coming up, number 8.
Right,
No, there is none.
right. So we are about to adjourn to a closed session, which we postponed because of the service this afternoon, and I hope it doesn't last long, but we stand not adjourned, but we're going to retreat to closed session and go from there. And you can hang around if you want, but I have no idea why you would want to.
I don't think I'm going to be able to get close to this house.
Pardon? Right.
Good job, Debbie. Way to sit through.
Oh, it's 422